The Incredible Shrinking Royal Guard by Reedman. Shrink time! Another boring, sunny day. Steelhoof grumbled to himself. The Earth Pony didn't mind the nice days. It was the repetitiveness that bothered him. Then again, a boring day for a royal guard is a good day for every pony. All he did was work patrol at the Canterlot Castle. He was part of the day patrol. There wasn't much to it. Walk about the area you were assigned and watch out for trouble. Besides the occasional fellow guard being caught sleeping on the job, there wasn't much happening around here. He was in a fairly remote location of patrol, the area around the castle infirmary. The place was rather quiet during peaceful times, so most of the time. Even if it was boring, the stallion had a job to do. "Steelhoof!" a voice shouted. He turned around to see who it was. He immediately saluted. It was Captain Shining Armor. "At ease," the captain said. "Good morning, sir," Steelhoof said. "How goes patrol?" his superior asked. "Quiet on all fronts, sir," he said. "The only exception being the 2 fresh recruits I caught taking a nap. They ran back to their patrol as soon as I saw them." That seemed to have gotten a smirk out of the captain. A rare occurrence on duty. "I remember doing the same in my younger years," said Shining. "Nonetheless, good work. Continue your patrol." "Yes, sir," Steelhoof said with a salute. The captain walked away. The guard was left alone with his thoughts once more. The brief interactions were the only ones he would get on patrol. This guard was the never one to wish for excitement for the sake of relieving his own boredom. He had his duty to perform. Suddenly, Steelhoof felt something bounce against his back. He immediately turned around. There was nothing there. Just a few wisps of blue magical energy being lost to the wind. Could have been the 2 new recruits messing with him. He neglected to tell the captain how he shouted the 2 recruits awake. As he continues his walk, the pony shifts around in his armor. It was feeling strangely looser. It was strange how metallic armor could feel as if it loosened. Perhaps he wasn't getting enough to eat at the mess hall. A larger serving for supper would have to be in order. A mental note made for later. Now his hoof steps were clacking against the ground as they seemed to slip a little whenever he raised a hoof stepping. Something wasn't making sense. The hoof shoes were a tight fit. He knew for a fact they should never come off on their own. This was getting more and more confusing. Steelhoof's helmet suddenly dropped in front of his eyes. He shook his head back so he could see. Now nothing made sense. The armor on his body could be explained by weight change. His horseshoes were confusing, but could be written off as them being too worn. But his helmet? Heads don't get smaller. That's when it hit him. The armor wasn't getting bigger or loose. He was smaller. At least, getting smaller. Looking down, he could see the ground slowly inch closer. This wasn't good. The guard pony was shrinking. At the rate he was going, he'd be matching height with a Breezy in minutes. No. He needed to stay calm. He needed to remember his training. He was afflicted with a spell that was making him shrink. He needed to find a unicorn guard, or the captain. Some pony who knew magic and could reverse it. He somewhat grumbled to himself as he remembered his patrol had him pretty much alone. "I can't believe that old-timer gave us an earful," a distant voice said. Steelhoof looked over in the distance. It was the new recruits he yelled at for sleeping. Though he wasn't on the best of terms with them, duty came first. Surely they at least would know to get help. He began to trot over as quickly as he could. His rapidly growing armor was making that quite the challenge. His helmet kept falling over his eyes with each step. His body armor was weighing down more and more. His hoof shoes were somehow still on. The Earth Pony was glad to be among guards if caught. To any pony else he would look ridiculous, like a young foal trying to wear their father's armor. Suddenly, everything went gold. Loud bangs exploded in Steelhoof's ears. Looking around, it seemed the shrinking accelerated. He was no bigger than a newborn. His own helmet shrouded him. Using his Earth Pony's strength, he pushed the now much bigger helmet away. He took a moment to look around. His armor looked like it would fit a giant. He took a moment to catch his breath. He walked over to one of his hoof shoes. He gingerly put his front left hoof in, then his front right hoof. They both fit in it just fine. This wasn't getting any better. He needed to get to the new recruits. He took a step, but fate had other plans. The hoof shoe he had just had his left hoof in was now a lot bigger. The magic on him must have accelerated again. He was far too small to jump out. The wall towered above him much like the walls of the castle. It was fairly intimidating to look up at, though that wasn't nearly as intimidating as the world-shaking steps that rapidly grew around him. Even that wasn't as bad as seeing the two recruits. Gargantuan didn't begin to describe it. The recruits he had stared down upon and yelled at were incomprehensibly massive. He could swear the first unicorn of the two was staring at him. "Looks like Steelhoof's dropped his armor," the young unicorn smirked. "Guess we'll have to put this discarded armor away so no pony finds out." The unicorn's cohort only chuckled as he stared at the shrunken pony as well. Steelhoof felt his world get much lighter as a blue aura surrounded everything in sight. Seems the recruits were returning the armor. He wondered if they were going to ever return him. This is Comment Time with Visual Pony once again, and I will remind you that you can support Pony&Wolf Productions through the links down in the description. Every dollar helps is needed and very much appreciated. And there are Patreon links, one-time donation links, merch store. You can join the channel as a channel member, for, perks like MP3 downloads of all of this stuff. Okay, so let me get into the story. As I said, I had reviewed this before I read it, because of the, Hungry Pony meets, or Tiny Human meets Hungry Pony. And I'm glad I did. This story is okay. It is okay for my standards. And not as sudden dark as Tiny Human meets Hungry Pony, but still, the end here. I want to know what happens to Steelhoof. I mean, as a prank, okay, you've turned me small. Come on, guys. The prank's over, That's completely fine, really. Even if I was Steelhoof, I wouldn't even, punish them for it. I would be like, look, I see that I could have, handled the situation better. You got me back for it. We're square, But even as that seems the recruits were returning the armor, he wondered if they were going to ever return him. Kinda indicates that he's fearing for his life. That they are going to, do something to him. And that's just fucked up. For some reason, a lot of these stories from reedman that I've been reading have a very cool comedic. This story even has a comedy tag. Okay? It even has a comedy tag. But in my opinion, this comedy tag isn't earned. Not with the way it's written. If it this story has MLP, Friendship is Magic, Comedy, Random, Slice of Life, and OC. Those are the tags. This story hasn't earned the comedy tags. There's no comedy. Yeah, sure, there's this part where his armor shrinks and he tries to get to the new recruits. But that's it. If at the end here it was revealed that it technically is revealed that this was the recruits because, the blue aura and all that. But if there had been a resolution like, hey, we got you good, Steelhoof. Don't act like an officer when you're not, stuff like that. That would have been funny. But this here at the end indicates this pony is fearing for his life. So just imagine if I were to put I haven't edited this yet, obviously, but imagine if I were to put dramatic or creepy music under this. It would give this one sentence a completely different meaning. You know? This whole Steelhoof felt his world get much lighter as a blue aura surrounded everything in sight. Seems the recruits were returning the armor. He wondered if they were going to ever return him. You see? Just, oh god, it gives the whole story such a dark twist again. And I don't know why the author is doing this. Because this is not comedy. This is a very weird story. I would give it the random tag. Yes, it has the random tag, but comedy? No. Anyhow, I'm Visual Pony. I hope you are well in body and mind. And that we will see each other in the next video.